Hello everyone, this is a series where we take a look at characters from different forms of media and try to recreate them in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Here we'll be using a point-buy system and only use officially released options, so this does include Tasha's new rules. There is no UA and we don't assume your DM allows a free feed at level 1. We also don't worry about background options because those can be interchanged with a custom background, so there really is no need to go in depth with that. These builds are purely for fun and I doubt we will ever build something truly optimal. Instead, we try to go for as close a recreation as we can. Oh, and if you ever have any suggestions for future characters or other fun considerations for the current character we're talking about, please leave them down in the comments below. With that being said, let's begin. The Legend of Zelda, one of gaming's most storied franchises. It's a series I cherish deeply, so today we will be looking at the Triforce Trio of Link, Zelda, and Ganon in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. This video itself will primarily focus on Link considering he's the one we're able to play as the most, but that doesn't mean I'm going to ignore Zelda and Ganondorf. I'll be going through my personal build for each of those characters. We will primarily be building from these games for reference, and why these games, you may ask? Well, these are just the games that I'm most familiar with. I played them plenty of times over the years. But with that out of the way, let's get started. Look, the reality is Link is a fighter in almost all of his games. Okay, no, I don't want to hear that because while yes, there is some truth to that, it really does depend on what aspect of Link you want to focus on. Do you want a Link who's a hardened warrior against darkness? Or the one that got really attached to that one crossbow they got for their birthday? Link is a funny character though, because they basically get to solo dungeons and keep all the magic items for themselves in his bag of holding, while the two other players are just fighting it out, waiting for the Marshal to be able to compete with them. Now you may be wondering what Link we're going to focus on today, and while I can hit you with the rapid fire of reincarnations, Twilight Princess being a battle master with levels in Druid, and Link from Windwaker being basically a sword bard, we're going to actually just focus on Link from Breath of the Wild because of two reasons. I believe that Link from Breath of the Wild is the definitive Link for Dungeons & Dragons content, because of the wide range of options and playstyle available. And because I think that everyone's really excited for Breath of the Wild 2 coming out. I mean, just look at this trailer. Have you seen this? Oh my god. Alright, with that out of the way, let's focus on actually building the character now. When it comes to race, this is actually probably one of the few times we can justify using a human variant for accuracy.
Hold it!
Look, I didn't need to give you a whole bit to just tell you that Wood Elf is totally fine. But thanks to Ebron, we can actually use the Mark of Sentinel Human. Comes with two features that I think are quintessential to your everyday Link, with those being Guardian Shield and Vigilant Guardian respectively. Guardian Shield allows you to cast the shield spell once per long rest, and with Vigilant Guardian, when you see a creature within 5 feet of you hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to swap places with that creature, and you're hit by the attack instead. We're not going to have any class feature spellcasting, so the spells of the mark aren't going to apply to us. But that means we can start building the character now. So we are going to be boosting our strength by 2 and constitution by 1. So this is a good excuse to segue into our point buy allocation. Not including our racial adjustments, we will be sitting on 15 strength, 14 dexterity, 15 constitution, 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. Now when it comes to actually building the character, initially I was going to split the character into 16 levels of fighter and 4 ranger for some spells and flavor. But then I realized the endgame fighter is insane and we can get those spells anyway. Picking Mark of Sentinel Human, we have Daruk's Shield in the shield spell, and this basically just means we started the game helping out Daruk's Spirit and stopping Fireblight Ganon. I don't know how we did it so early on, don't ask questions, you know it makes sense. So, picking those levels in Fighter, we take Dueling as our fighting style. Now, defense is viable as well. If you're speedrunning the game, however, you're not going to be wearing any armor, so it's a waste. We are going to be picking up the Battlemaster archetype and taking Riposte, Trip Attack, and Disarming Attack as our early maneuvers. Personally, I took the Jeweler's Tools because there is some mining in Breath of the Wild, and if you accidentally break one of your legendary weapons, pray you can tell which ones are the diamonds. By now, we've defeated Waterblight Ganon, and you've realized we've had Mipha's Grace in the second wind this whole time. It's not cheating, it's called adapting. At level 4, we take the Athlete feat to boost our strength and put that climbing gear to good use. And when we hit 6, we realize we need to survive in the wild now, so we take the Chef feat to start cooking up with those ingredients we found along the way. We also use it to boost our con since we are new to this and we might need a strong stomach. The next maneuvers I took were Sweeping Attack and Quick Toss, because I'm sure by now we've all accidentally chucked a sword or two, and it's actually quite fun, I'll be completely honest. On to level 8, we hit the gym and max out our strength with a +2. Now that we got a little stronger, you wouldn't believe how heavy this little guy can bench press. We also take Parry and Lunging Attack as our following maneuvers. If you rolled your stats and started with a higher array, consider one of these feats. We will be catching up with you very shortly. At level 12, you remember we have a story to complete, so after beating Windblight Ganon and Thunderblight Ganon, we now get Rivali's Gale and Urbosa's Fury thanks to Aberrant Dragonmark, taking Jump and Lightning Lure, which scales off our constitution. Now you may be wondering why jump? Well, by the time we hit level 20, we can jump, carry the 3, +5, not including potential magic items, but multiply that 8 by 3, that comes out to a minimum of 24 feet, so yeah, that does work. At 14, we start to complete the shrines and add to our hearts by taking a +2 in con. But if you want something more thematic, you can easily take Shieldmaster, Magic Initiate for Featherfall, that's really all we're missing here, or Mounted Combatant since we would never forget about Epona. To wrap up our maneuvers, however, it was a hard pick, but I decided to take the Precision Attack and Ambush since we can increase our initiative roll to round us off. At 16, I decided to take Shieldmaster rather than Magic Initiate, because I would hope by now that the DM has given me an item to substitute for Featherfall. Maybe like some kind of parachute or a glider? Either one could work. At 19, we could take Tough and go overboard with our hearts, or take one of those flavor feats that I mentioned earlier. Like in Breath of the Wild, however, I will go with Mountain Combatant to replicate the final boss fight. Rip into me all you want, I just hope that it isn't a spoiler. It has been like 40 years though, in my defense. Now that we're done with Link, we can move on to the next part of the video, discussing Princess Zelda. And the Zelda we are choosing to build is from Wind Waker. That's right, it's Tetra. We'll be using the standard High Elf with changes from Tasha's, meaning we'll be tinkering with the Elf weapon training feature to obtain these starting proficiencies. We're adding a longbow, thanks to her marksmanship on display in the final fight, water vehicles, she is a legendary pirate after all, a short sword as her weapon of choice, and finally a flute, considering she is eventually given one to protect the land for good in Spirit Tracks. The free wizard cantrip we are taking is Message, considering Tetra does have a pirate's charm to drop hints to Link. This eventually becomes Sending anyway, sorry for the spoiler. So, this also means we're adding +2 to our starting charisma and +1 to our dexterity. This leaves our point buy allocation as follows: 8 strength, 16 dex, 14 con, 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 17 charisma. A background in sailor, pirate, shipwright, urchin, etc. can all work, so do what you think is best. But I think the best bet is combining urchin skills and tool proficiencies with the shipwright or the sailor feature. Now when it comes to class, you can make the argument that Tetra is a descendant of a holy bloodline before she becomes a pirate. So that's what I'm going to do, primarily because of Sorcerer's con saving throw proficiency. Yes, I have no shame in power gaming at times. But to make this simple, we will just go over each class in the build on their own to avoid constant switching back and forth. So we'll start with Sorcerer before sprinkling in 8 levels in Rogue along the way, leaving us with 12 Sorcerer levels and 8 Rogue levels in total. Being a descendant of a holy bloodline means we are going to go with the Divine Soul Sorceress origin. This gives us an entire second spell list, making our limited spell choice decisions that much more difficult. Thank you, Wizards, for making this class so anxiety-inducing. I picked up the Deception and Intimidation skills because that's what pirates be doing, as well as the good Divine Magic to start us off, but don't worry, we can replace this Cure Wounds with something else later on. My favorite part of Sorcerers is the Meta Magic feature, and the ones I went for were Subtle, Quickened, and Twinned Spell. I feel like those are our best options, and we clearly see Zelda use a Guiding Bolt to help Link with that final blow, but we don't actually see her cast it, so I'm going to chalk that up to as a subtle spell. For our ASIs along the way, we're going to be adding to our Charisma and Dexterity to help the rest of the build function. For my particular build, I went along the way with +1 Dex and +1 Charisma, +2 Charisma even later, and closing off with Elven Accuracy. She is really good at hitting her mark, let's be honest. Remember what I said about the power gaming at any opportunity. To finish off our Sorcerer, we're going to actually be discussing some spell options that I think are pretty handy and neat for some flavor and theming. These are the spells that I would consider that aren't given for free. Starting off with Wall of Light, have you seen how terrifying the Triforce actually is? Flesh to Stone, because you can see what happens to poor Ganondorf at the end of Wind Waker. Find the Path helps for when you're lost at sea. Tasha's Otherworldly Guise helps for when you want to double down as being a badass pirate. Holy Weapon, because Link sure as hell didn't pack those light arrows this time. You did that yourself. Congratulations for thinking ahead. Guardian of Faith is nifty if you want to see this little guy help you out, but you can always do Spirit Gardens for that, and let's be honest, you probably took that anyway. Sending is even better now that we have an even longer range Pirate Charm. Magic Weapon is helpful earlier on, and healing spells work great. And if you want to sneak in other Zeldas, Hold Monster works make a nice reference to that final fight in Ocarina of Time instead. I originally wanted to do Ocarina, but Wind Waker is a little bit more fun to build with, I have to say. Moving on to Rogue, these levels can be spread however you see fit, and they help round the character out nicely with great synergy in my opinion. I take the Acrobatics proficiency and expertise in Stealth, Sleight of Hand, Perception, that we got for being elves, and Thieves' Tools from our background. As a Charisma caster and with a fitting name, Swashbuckler is the perfect Rogue archetype to build with. Our fancy footwork allows us to bob and weave, and our rakish audacity makes us an even nimbler foe, enabling us to go before others even know what's going on. The idea behind ASIs here could be maxing out our dexterity with another +2, tough, or boost your con by 2. Our con saves may not be as good as they can be, but that's what Favored by the Gods do for you. Hylia, Din, Furore, and Nairu are on your side, so those 2d4s come in handy. I guess you can add some fire, wind spells in there as well. But if you had rolled and had more room for ASIs, I would consider these feats to make your Tetra/Zelda even more exciting. I really like this build considering it took me weeks to finalize and I finally fine-tuned it to what I think is an enjoyable class and build. But now that we're done with Link and Zelda, we can now move on to Ganondorf. The big bad himself, Ganondorf. We need to make sure we can get this character to be as intimidating and resilient as best we can. So I'll be making it based on my favorite reincarnation of the Gerudo King in Twilight Princess. Being revealed as a vessel for Demise's hatred in Skyward Sword, we can argue that he's stuck in a really bad pact. So we're going to be going with the Undead Warlock from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. For flavor, I did go with Half-Orc because I think that in the grand scheme of things, it works just slightly better, for theming at least. By using the Half-Orc race, we get to use one of my favorite features being Relentless Endurance. This allows us to stay standing with 1 HP after a critical blow. Now where have I seen that before? We're going to be swapping our racial bonuses to +2 Charisma and +1 Strength. We'll start with 16 Strength, 10 Dex, 14 Con, 8 Int, 8 Wisdom, and 17 Charisma. Starting with Fighter, we get Strength and Con as our saving throw proficiencies, which is fantastically in theme. I'll be taking the defense fighting style personally. Once we hit level 1 Warlock, we get the Form of Dread. This makes you look super intimidating, causing fear and being immune to fear. No, that's not you with the Triforce of Courage, that's just you being a badass. At level 2, we get our first invocations, but I'm going to discuss all of those at the end of the video just to save time. Level 3, we take Pact of the Blade, and at 4, we get our first ASI, giving us a chance to start boosting up. I'm going with Orcish Fury and boosting up my strength, because we can make an excuse for not being full power just yet. Level 6, we get Grave Touched. Level 8, I'll add a +1 in strength and charisma, making both of them in 18 at this point. Level 10 gives us Necrotic Husk, which is a magnificent way to announce the second phase to the fight, and you get to hit everyone you want within 30 feet to take 2d10 plus 10 points of necrotic damage. Neat! 11 gives us our first Mystic Arcanum, and I'll take Create Undead. I mean, just look at it. He's got all his homies to back him up now. Isn't it great? Oh, in addition to another invocation at level 12, we can take another ASI. We can either boost our Charisma, Strength, or even Constitution because things are starting to hit a little harder. I'm going to be adding a 2 in Constitution because we need to start concentrating on what's coming up. Our next Mystic Arcana will be Force Cage because where else are we going to trap Princess Zelda while fighting Link? Level 14 Undead Warlock gives us Spirit Projection. Well, there's a Ghost, Ganon, and Ocarina, so it's perfect since they're the same person once again. This feature is so cool though, I really like it. More invocations to level 15, we'll discuss that later. But at 15 we also find out that Ganon can turn every single monster against you. He's been using Dominate Monster the whole time. Crazy how things like that just work, huh? Who knows? Maybe we could have been friends with some of them. For our level 16 ASI, we can max out our strength, or charisma, or even have our con try to catch up. We do have the Triforce of Power though, not the Triforce of an electrifying personality, so we'll max out our strength instead. But spoiler, he's still fun at parties. After boosting up our strength just a little bit more, 17 gives us the big daddy of damage in Blade of Disaster. Now at level 17, you've hit the point where Link's basically lost. Nobody can stop you now. Not yet at least. They'll find a way, but until then, you have a badass sword that crits from 18 to 20 and adds an extra 4d12 for 12d12 force damage total. Also, if I'm reading this right, that's 4 attacks a turn. But at level 19, we are going to maximize our charisma because we're now the King of Hyrule. We've done it, guys. I knew you could. Now, we do miss out on the level 20 feature to regain your power by asking for help with just a minute of talking with your patron. But that does sound a little bit familiar. My final invocations were Improved Pack Weapon, Eldritch Mind, Thirsting Blade, Agonizing Blast, Eldritch Smite, Life Drinker, Master of Myriad Forms, and Devil Sight. We don't have the best Constitution stat, but having a proficiency in it as well as having advantage for con saves does help. But these are some other invocations you could take a look at. And as always, if you're rolling and you rolled pretty darn good, you should consider these feats to make your Ganon the best bad guy they can be. And that wraps up another video. Thank you guys for the support in the last one, and I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, if you have any suggestions for this and future characters, let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more in the future. But that's where we're going to wrap things up today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.